Hello, my dear students, and welcome back to the lecture series of syllogism, where which we are discussing the important questions of syllogism. The images used in our slide deck are for educational purposes only. We respect the intellectual property rights of the original creators and owners of these images. If you are the owner of any of the images used in this deck and have any concerns or issues, please contact us at sathi@iitk.ac.in and we shall remove the images. My dear students, a very warm welcome to all of you. As you remember that in our previous lecture, we discussed about the different types of syllogism, the concept, as well as we practiced the different questions which is pertaining to syllogism. Not only that, we understood the difference of the word possibility, where which in some questions we figured out that the word possibility can be considered to be true, and in some questions we considered that the word possibility cannot be considered to be true based on the inferences that we can draw from the diagrams that has been that has been suggested or that has been made according to the statement that has been provided. किसी किसी क्वेश्चंस में हम जो वर्ड है पॉसिबिलिटी को वो एक्सेप्ट कर सकते हैं और किसी किसी स्टेटमेंट्स में हम द वर्ड पॉसिबिलिटी को एक्सेप्ट नहीं कर सकते. द रीजन बीइंग in certain questions you will figure out that the word possibility can be inferred through based on the statements and the Venn diagram, and in certain questions it is very much clear that the Venn diagram will not be representing that there is even a slight possibility that this particular statement could have been true. So based on that particular statement only, we will try to figure out that what can be the correct answer and what cannot be the correct answer of these questions. So my dear students, as you can see, there is another question number 26, right in front of your screen. And I will again request you to take out your pen and paper and start practicing these questions along with me, so that once we will be done with this particular lecture series of syllogism, we would have solved different type of questions pertaining to syllogism, which will enhance your approach in solving questions of syllogism. Even the complicated one could be solved very easily. And that is why this practice has been made a very important part of this particular lecture series. So my dear students, again, the question is right now in front of you. Statement has been provided. I would now request you to kindly draw the Venn diagram. Your 10 seconds for this particular question starts now. Okay, my dear students, I suppose you have drawn the Venn diagram where which one circle is representing windows, another door, another is representing the wall, and the fourth one is representing the roofs. Now, as you have drawn the Venn diagram, now we will directly pushing forward and we will be understanding whether this particular Venn diagram, which is representing doors and walls and doors, windows, walls and roofs, are correct or not. First statement says all windows are doors. All windows are doors. Is this the correct Venn diagram for the statement number 1? My dear student, this is not the correct diagram, because this suggestions means that the window should be entirely contained within the set door. So the correct representation would have been this would be the circle which is window, and this the circle which is the door. Now this would have been the correct representation of the diagram. Now another statement suggests that no door is wall. Since no door is wall means that there should be a gap between the circle which is representing door and the circle which is representing wall. And some walls are roof. This is the correct diagram. Some walls are roof, because we can see that there are overlap between walls and roofs. So this is the right diagram. This obviously is also inferring the correct representation of the second statement, because there is no overlap between doors and walls, there is a clear gap between doors and walls. So this is also the correct inference for statement number 2. And this will be the right method of representing statement number 1. So this is the wrong representation of statement number 1. But statement number 2 and statement number 3 are correctly represented here. And here will be the correct representation of statement number 1. So now, taking these Venn diagrams into consideration, you have to figure out whether the conclusions follows or not. So the first conclusion says, some roofs are not doors. Some roofs are not doors. Some roofs are not doors. Obviously, there is no relation between roofs and doors. Is there any relation, my dear students? No, there is no relation between roofs and doors. So this is correct. Now, no window is a wall. No window is a wall. No window is a wall, obviously, because since there is no door is wall, so obviously the windows that is contained within the wall or within the doors will obviously be having no relation with the walls. Therefore, the second conclusion also follows from the statement that has been provided. So both conclusion 1 and conclusion 2 follows. So the correct answer for this question will be conclusion 1 and conclusion 2 follows. The correct answer is answer C. See, ये जो question था, it was perhaps an easier question in comparison to the previous questions that we have solved, where the word possibility was there, because all you needed to do was to draw the Venn diagram according to the suggestions. And I suppose everybody whomsoever is solving this particular syllogism, it was able to come out with the correct method or the correct way of representing the statements through the Venn diagram, and they would have easily solved the conclusions that were provided. Okay, so next question that is right now in front of you. Please try to solve this question. The question 27 suggests these are the statements. Statement says some birds are parrots, all parrots are sparrows, no sparrow is crow. So now, ये 3 statements है आपके पास जिसमें कहता है कि some birds are parrots. So opposite of it, some parrots are birds is also true. All parrots are sparrows. Can we say all sparrows are parrots? No, we cannot say all sparrows are parrots. We can say some sparrows are parrots because all parrots are sparrows. Now, no sparrow is a crow. No sparrow is a crow. Now we will be giving you 10 seconds. Try to draw the Venn diagram for this particular statement. The time starts now. My dear students, I suppose you have drawn the Venn diagram. Now we will be moving forward and we will be trying to understand the conclusion that has been provided along with this question, and we will see whether the solution that has been provided is correct or not correct. If you can see this particular Venn diagram, the first statement says some birds are parrots. Obviously, some birds are parrots. This is the correct representation. All parrots are sparrows. Now, the all parrots are sparrows. Again, you can see that there is some overlap and there is some areas of parrots which is going outside the circle of sparrows, which cannot be considered to be the correct representation, because what we are saying here is some birds are parrots and all parrots are sparrows. So this is birds, this is parrots, and this circle is going to represent sparrows. In the third circle, the third statement, no sparrow is crow. No sparrow is crow. Obviously, this is the correct representation because there is no relation between sparrows and crows. Moving forward, let's try to figure out what the statements are saying. Some birds are not crows. Some birds are not crows. Obviously, there is no relation between bird and crows. The statement 1 follows. Conclusion 1 also follows. Some sparrows are not birds. Some sparrows are not birds. Some sparrows are not birds. Can we come to this particular conclusion? Some sparrows are not birds. Can we come to this particular conclusion, my dear students, from this Venn diagram? there is no direct relation that has been provided. There is no direct relation that has been provided, my dear students, between birds and sparrows. So we cannot come to this particular conclusion that there are some parrots which are birds can also be sparrows. Some birds which are parrots are sparrows. If we are talking about sparrows, we cannot say there is a direct relation between sparrows and birds because it is through parrots only. And the second statement says some sparrows are not birds. Some sparrows are not birds. There is no direct relation between sparrows and birds in this particular question, my dear students. आप लोगों को यहाँ पे समझना पड़ेगा कि यहाँ पे there are some birds which are parrots and all parrots are being sparrows. Correct? So we can say that some birds are sparrows. Why? Because some birds who are parrots are sparrows. This statement we can take into consideration. Some birds which are parrots are sparrows. That can be taken into consideration. But some sparrows or some birds are not sparrows. Some birds are not sparrows. This we cannot tell because there is no direct relation between birds and sparrows. अगर इस particular question में यहाँ पे word लिखा होता some sparrows are birds, some sparrows are birds, then yes, we could have taken that into consideration because there is some overlap between parrots and birds, so we could have said that. But the opposite of it, that some birds are not sparrows, since there is no direct relation between sparrows and birds, we cannot confer, we cannot say that this particular statement would have been right. Again, आपको यहाँ पे फिर confusion आया होगा, my dear students. आप सोच रहे होंगे कि सर जब some birds sparrows हो सकती हैं, some birds sparrow हो सकती हैं क्योंकि some birds जो कि parrots है वो sparrows हैं, तो उसका opposite क्यों नहीं possible? वो possible इसलिए नहीं है क्योंकि हम लोग ये infer तो कर सकते हैं कि हाँ, if some x are y, then all y which is z, therefore some z will also be x. But we cannot confer the opposite of it. Some x are y, meaning which some y are x. That we can consider. But some x are y, we cannot say that some x are not y. If you remember, when we were discussing about the important tips, if you can obviously go and find it in our previous lecture series, which we have actually talked about the different tips. And when we go to that particular tip, we can obviously understand that these are the statements that have been important and which has to be understood. If you wish to, we can obviously go to that one and we can figure out that what are the statements which will follow if this particular thing has been written. Some birds are parrots will not infer to you that some parrots are not birds. Please understand, my dear students, very important thing of discussion, very important point of discussion, that here you can clearly conclude that some sparrows are birds. If this would have been the statement, some sparrows are birds, then yes, some sparrows which are parrots, because all parrots are sparrows, that has been clearly mentioned, and some birds are parrots. So those parrots which are birds could be sparrows also. That is a possibility that we can say. Obviously, that can be inferred because there is an intersection and all the parrots are sparrows. So there will be some birds who are parrots will also be sparrows. But the contrary of it, we cannot come to the conclusion. We cannot say that is possibility. Reason being, there is no direct inference between birds and sparrows. Therefore, the second statement cannot be taken into consideration. Had that been written as some sparrows are birds, yes, then we could have taken that conclusion as correct because we can infer that some sparrows are birds according to the Venn diagram that has been drawn. Some sparrows are birds which are in here, which we can obviously understand from this Venn diagram. But some sparrows are not birds, which we cannot come to the conclusion. This is something we will assume. And again, we cannot assume anything whenever we are solving the syllogism questions of any type of syllogism question. So my dear students, the answer for this question will only be conclusion 1 follows. Why is it so? I suppose you have understood it. If not, in our upcoming lecture or in our next series, we will again be pointing out those areas which has to be taken into consideration by the students in order to understand that some x are y doesn't mean that some y are not x. Please understand this point. Some x are y doesn't mean we cannot conclude that some y are not x. This is an assumption that we will be making, and we are not supposed to assume anything whenever we are solving syllogism. Here from the Venn diagram, it is clearly understandable. It is clearly looking that some birds, which are parrots, are sparrows. But opposite of it, that some birds are not sparrows. We cannot conclude some sparrows are not birds. We cannot conclude because we don't have enough evidence to showcase that particular point. Therefore, only conclusion 1 will follow, not conclusion 2 will follow. Understood guys? थोड़ा सा कॉम्प्लिकेटेड था, थोड़ा समझने में भी टाइम लगा, लेकिन अगर आप लोग प्रीवियस वीडियोस पे वापस रिफर करेंगे जहां पे हम लोगों ने टिप्स डिस्कस करी थी, जहां पे हमने टाइप्स डिस्कस करे थे, तो शायद आप इस बात को वापस समझ पाएंगे कि सम एक्स आर वाई इज नॉट इक्वल टू सम वाई आर नॉट एक्स. बहुत सारे स्टूडेंट्स इनफैक्ट मेजॉरिटी ऑफ द स्टूडेंट्स यहाँ पे ये मिस्टेक करेंगे कि वो इसको जो सेकंड स्टेटमेंट है उसको करेक्ट मान लेंगे, क्योंकि वो डायरेक्टली देखेंगे सर यहाँ पे बी और एस के बीच में थोड़ा सा एरिया ऐसा है जो कि बाहर ओवरलैप कर रहा है. बट अगेन, ये आपने वेन डायग्राम ड्रॉ करा है ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ द स्टेटमेंट्स दैट हैज बीन प्रोवाइडेड माय डियर स्टूडेंट्स. ये वेन डायग्राम अलग तरीके से भी ड्रॉ हो सकता था, लेकिन उस टाइम पे जो ये स्पैरेट्स और स्पैरोज है, इसमें ये आपका पूरा सर्कल स्पैरो का भी ले सकता था. क्या ये पॉसिबिलिटी नहीं है? यस. तो फिर जो आपका स्टेटमेंट था वो गलत हो जाता कंक्लूजन नंबर 2. देयरफॉर हम लोग सिर्फ और सिर्फ स्टेटमेंट को और वेन डायग्राम दोनों को साथ में गठित करके ये पता करने की प्रयास करते हैं कि क्या कंक्लूजन फॉलो हो रहा है, नहीं हो रहा है. Some birds are sparrows. Obviously, we can clearly see that some birds are sparrows, which is being represented from the Venn diagram. Why? Because there are parrots which are within the circle of sparrows, and all the parrots, since they are within the circle of sparrows, and some of the parrots are birds. Therefore, those parrots which are birds, or those birds which are parrots, will obviously be sparrows, because all the parrots are sparrows. I suppose आप लोगों को मैंने जितने भी तरीके से प्रयास करा होगा समझाने का, आप इस चीज को समझ पाए होंगे. अगर आपको नहीं भी समझ में आया है तो यू नीड नॉट वरी एट ऑल माय डियर स्टूडेंट्स, बिकॉज आगे जब और क्वेश्चंस हम लोग सॉल्व करेंगे, सो यू विल बी एबल टू अंडरस्टैंड दैट व्हाई इज इट सो दैट सम एक्स आर वाई इज नॉट इक्वल टू सम वाई आर नॉट एक्स. ओके, सो with this, we will be continuing with our next question, and that question will now be in front of your screen. I would like you to reiterate this question. You will understand the question and try to solve this question as well. Question number 28, which suggests that this is the statement which says that all roses are flowers. Some flowers are red. No red is blue. All roses are flowers. Some flowers are red. And no red is blue. Very easy question. Now, the possibility word is again here. So, please be vigilant that whether we have to take only one into conclusion or only two into conclusion. Your 10 seconds to draw the Venn diagram starts now. Okay, my dear students, I suppose you were able to draw the Venn diagram. Let's switch to the conclusion and let's try to figure out whether the statements follows from the Venn diagram or not. Again, all roses are flowers. Correct diagram? Not at all. Why? As you all know, this would have been the correct representation of statement number 1, where which this is representing roses and this is representing flowers. Some flowers are red. Some flowers are red. There is a clear gap between flowers and red, which is also not correct. The correct representation should have been like this: flowers in red, and let's make it red for your better understanding. And then no red is blue. This is the correct representation. No red is blue. So this is blue. So as you can see, this is the correct representation of Venn diagram, which is representing all roses are flowers. All roses are flowers. Bigger this suggests that the set roses is entirely contained within the set flowers. That is true. Some flowers are red. This indicates some overlap between flowers and red. Flowers and red are overlapping. 100% correct. No red is blue. There is no linkage between red and blue. So this is the correct representation of the statement that has been provided. Now, let's jump to the question. Some rose conclusion. Conclusion पहला कह रहा है आपका, some roses are not blue. Some roses are not blue. Obviously, क्योंकि फ्लावर्स और ब्लू के बीच में कोई रिलेशन आपको दिख रहा है? एब्सोल्युटली नो. और रोज फ्लावर्स के अंदर रोजेस हैं, तो जब फ्लावर्स और ब्लू के बीच में ही कोई रिलेशन नहीं है, when there is no relation between flowers and blue, according to the Venn diagram, we can obviously infer that there is no relation between roses and blue also. So therefore, the statement, if it is saying that some roses are not blue, meaning which all roses are not blue and no roses are blue, all the three statement is correct. Conclusion 1 seems to be correct. All roses being red is a possibility. All roses being red is a possibility. Can we consider this particular statement, my dear students? All roses being red is a possibility. Can we come to this particular inference where which we can say that all roses being red is a possibility? See, my dear students, as you can see from this Venn diagram, the flowers and red has been overlapped. All roses are flowers, which means that some flowers are roses. If this statement would have been some roses which are flowers, some roses which are flowers, or all some flowers which are roses are red, then also we can confer that this particular statement cannot be considered to be a possibility. The reason being, all roses being red is a possibility. We cannot confer, we cannot come to this particular conclusion, my dear students. The reason being, roses and red has not been conferred, has not been made any sort of relation through the statement. We have statement where which we says that all roses are flowers, some flowers are red, some flowers are red, some flowers are red. We cannot say that those area where which some flowers are red, this is also containing red, which is not the roses, which is not true. So the second statement, all roses being red, is a possibility. We cannot confer anything from this. So the correct answer for this particular question will be only conclusion 1 follows. Only conclusion 1 follows. The correct answer for this question will be answer A, not answer C, my dear students, as we can already see from this particular Venn diagram that some of the roses, some of the flowers which are roses are there, that can be considered, but those flowers are red. We cannot come to the conclusion, we cannot infer, because there is no direct relation between red and roses. There is no direct relation between red and roses. Therefore, conclusion 2 cannot be taken into a possibility. Some students might see answer as C in question paper, because there has been areas where which the examiner has taken into consideration that since all roses are flowers, so the all roses being red also is a possibility, but according to the steps and according to the rules that has been formulated by the types of syllogism, we are 100% sure that this cannot be taken into possibility and which cannot be concluded according to the Venn diagram that is drawn. There are chances that it might be true, but we cannot directly infer. Therefore, the answer for this particular question would only be answer A. Somewhere you might find that it might have been mentioned that both A and C follows, but the correct answer, the more precise answer, if I would say, जो कि ज्यादा सही आंसर होगा, तो इसका आंसर A होगा, ना कि A और C, क्योंकि हम through the Venn diagram and through the statement, we cannot have a direct inference where which we can say that roses and red are directly related. Okay, so there is a possibility, there might not be a possibility, but the correct answer for this particular question will be answer A. Okay, so again, my dear student, there is a next question that is right now in front of you. I would request you all to solve this question, and we will then figure out what will be the correct answer for this question, and what will be the correct approach, and how the syllogism needs to be solved. For this statement, I will again request you to draw the Venn diagram, take into consideration the four circles that will represent books. One will represent book, another will represent paper, third one will represent pages, and no pages cover. Now don't get confused between pages and page here, my dear student. It can also be considered as pages or page, meaning which the third circle is going to be representing page or pages only. Okay, don't get confused that sir यहाँ पे तो page लिखा है तो क्या हमारे को 5 circle draw करने पड़ेंगे? No, not at all, my dear students. The pages and page means same. So here there will be only 4 circles that will be drawn. Now I will be giving you 10 seconds. Please draw the Venn diagram. My dear students, I suppose you have drawn the Venn diagram, and let's try to figure out whether the Venn diagram follows from the statements or not. Some books are flowers, some books are papers, absolutely correct. Some books are papers that we can see. All papers are pages. Again, there is an overlap between the pages and papers, which means that it is not entirely contained within the circle that has been drawn. The correct representation for this Venn diagram would be, this is books, this is papers, and there is an entirely contained circle which is representing pages. Okay, and the third statement is no pages is cover. This is also cover. Okay, my dear students, I suppose you have understood the point here. Now we will come to the conclusion. We will try to figure out what could be the correct approach and what could be the correct answer of this particular question. The conclusion number 1 says some books are not covers. Some books are not covers. Absolutely true. Some books are not covers. This is correct answer. This is because there is no relation between books and covers. And some pages are not covers. That is also very correct from the statement, because there is no link between pages and covers. So both statement 1, conclusion number 1 and conclusion number 2 follows. So both conclusion 1 and 2 follows. The answer for this correct answer will be answer C. Okay, my dear students, I suppose you enjoyed solving syllogism in today's lecture series also. There was a very complicated question that we solved, which we figured out that if some x's are y that has been mentioned, it will not mean that some y is also x. If some x are y, it will not mean that some y are not x. Please take this thing into mind. Please take this thing into consideration, that whenever we are solving these type of syllogism, we have to ensure that the tips and the rules that were formulated while discussing the types of syllogism are obviously in your mind, and you are taking those things into custody, and you are taking that thing obviously every time in your mind whenever you are solving these type of questions. आपको अपने दिमाग से ये चीज बिल्कुल नहीं भुलानी है कि क्या रूल्स बने हैं, और सिर्फ उन्हीं रूल्स को फॉलो करते हुए आपको सिलोगिज्म के क्वेश्चंस सॉल्व करने हैं. बहुत बार इट विल बी वेरी मच टेम्पटिंग फॉर यू जस्ट टू फिगर आउट अच्छा हाँ ये दोनों सही हो सकते हैं, बट आपको कंक्लूजन्स को स्टेटमेंट और वेन डायग्राम के बेसिस पे सॉल्व करना है, ना कि कंक्लूजन के बेसिस पे स्टेटमेंट्स को चेक करना है। इसीलिए मैं हर स्टूडेंट को ये एडवाइस देता हूं कि whenever you are solving the Venn diagram, never see the conclusion. The moment you will see the conclusions, you will get confused. So syllogism solve करते हुए पहले सिर्फ स्टेटमेंट को पढ़ें, स्टेटमेंट को पढ़ने के बाद on the basis पे you draw the Venn diagram, and after drawing the Venn diagram, you will come to this approach that yes, the answer of this the conclusion will follow or will not follow. So with this, I would again like to thank you all for being present in this lecture series, my dear students. In our upcoming videos, again, we will be tackling from question number 30, and we will be discussing the important concepts of syllogism. Till then, thank you so much for being present in this video. Bye-bye. Take care, my dear students.